So I had a chance to see the film,
Oh,
and in
amazing.
it, you use a lot of directorial flourishes over outwardly explaining what AS really is. So, what is day to day life like dealing with AS?
First of all, thank you for the time. Thanks for watching the film. You're one of the few people who've gotten to watch it so far, so that's very exciting for me. And I'm looking forward to getting to talk about it. I have ankylosing spondylitis. You were smart to abbreviate it and not try and say it. Uh, Ankylosing spondylitis is it fits between a couple different categories. It's an autoimmune disease, it's an inflammatory condition, it can be thought of as spinal arthritis. Essentially, my body wants to attack the ligaments between my bones and then goes, I'm so sorry, can I put more bone there? And so, left untreated, you start to have some spinal fusion, some spurs grow off your spine. I take a medicine, I'm treated for that, but I'm still left with inflammation and stiffness. My body is fighting something that is invisible that I can't see. So, day to day, it's very maddening to try and track your symptoms. Also, because your body is expending this energy on fighting itself, sometimes you have brain fog. Your energy is literally being expended elsewhere. Or because you get stiff when you don't move when you sleep, you wake up, you toss and turn, you then have bad sleep, you can have flare ups out of nowhere. Different foods can trigger me in different ways, different activities can trigger me in different ways. So there is the capital T treatment of the disease, which I can handle with medicine. But then there's all this lowercase t treatment where there are all of these symptoms and residual effects that can be hard to keep track of and frankly hard to predict.
That sounds like a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think that anyone with any sort of chronic condition knows that it is a constantly moving target. And unfortunately, there is no one silver bullet, right? I very early on in my, I was going to say career with AS, my experience with AS, I was really desperate and looking for the one solve, the thing that would make it go away, and now I don't have to think about it anymore. And at least in my experience, that's not the case. It is a commitment to a lifestyle change, and ultimately a journey of acceptance. And then on the other side, saying this doesn't define me.
And as someone who's known for putting a large part of their private life into the public eye,
Yeah.
how is it different telling a story like this to people who may not even have the Try Guys on their radar, may not even have heard of you guys before, and come across this film because they're dealing with their own chronic illnesses?
Yeah, I mean that my hope certainly is to get this in front of people who have no idea who I am, and I would love for the film to be adjudicated on its own. I hope that for everything I make, though I think that sometimes it's harder if you see a piece of content associated with the YouTube channel, you're going to come in with your own baggage and expectations. I have no issues with sharing the intimate. I honestly do that without really thinking about the ramifications of it. I think that's just a byproduct of what I do for a living. But the difference here was the ability to tell it, as you said, on such a visual scale, to get to really think in depth about visual storytelling in a way that I'm not often afforded in my other work. I put as much love and care as possible into everything I do, but this was one where the timeline of the project was a lot longer. This is more or less a 2 year project, which is sort of embarrassing considering the end product. It didn't need to take 2 years, but it did because of everything else I was working on in concert. A short film is a passion project. There's no this is going to lose money, right? We're not doing this because it's smart as a career move. We're doing it because we're passionate about it, and that's true for the people that worked on it with me. But the main difference was really getting to dive into it. The script I worked on and off for about 8 months. I wrote something, I threw it away. I wrote another thing, I stripped all the dialogue out. I realized we didn't have XYZ location, so I rewrote it based on practical. It went through all of these revisions. And then so too, when it came time to actually film it, the shoot date got pushed back twice. And every time it did, that gave me all the more time to really focus in on storyboarding and shot listing and writing up a 40-page document that had all the visual references and what colors we were using and what colors we weren't using, and just thinking way too much about something only because it was fun to do it.
Well, one of the main concepts of this film is that of the monster inside, something that people can resonate with whether they're dealing with mental or physical ailments. Was that something that was really important to you to make it accessible to everyone and not just those dealing with what is seemingly a pretty rare disease?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think AS affects under 1% of the population. So, pretty limited audience there, I would say, if I was going just after them. I believe in storytelling that specifics make something universal. So the more true you are to your own lived experience, as opposed to trying to paint with a broad brush, by being true to what you have or what you know, what you have lived, you are going to inevitably tap into these deeper universal truths. And so it's a little contradictory, but my goal was to get as specific as possible to myself to then become universal and broad. But absolutely, it was very much on my mind that this was obviously a apt series of visual metaphors for ankylosing spondylitis, but also for depression, or also for any mental health issue, or any other disability. Or, I mean, I'm sure there are a ton of people that could tell me the ways in which their life experiences can be mapped onto what we did. Um, and it's funny. I say I hope that others can find themselves in this movie. Actually, I don't, because if you can find yourself in this movie, that means you've experienced some sort of pain like me. But if you do have that pain, then I hope this can speak to you in a way that is at least cathartic.
Understandable. And when it comes to the Try Guys, uh, there's a lot of associated acts in this film, but you don't feature either Keith or Eugene, though I did see they are executive producers on the project. Was that intentional to separate this from the Try Guys as much as you could?
No, I mean, so originally Keith was slated to play the monster, the creature at the end, and that's just because he's a big, giant, gangly freak. And it was more out of necessity of finding the pocket when when I could film, when I could really put my full focus into this, and so that necessitated finding a time that Try Guys production was down, that then correlated with when they were both on vacations. So it was a little bit out of necessity of, I have a day job. When can I fit this passion project in? And that just happened to be when they were both not available. I forget what role I would have had Eugene. I maybe would have made him one of the aliens. I do think that there is something potentially distracting about seeing them to our audience. But hey, I mean, I would have let them be distracting any day of the week. They're great on camera. They're great collaborators, and it would have been fun to find a role for them in this.
Well, I'm sure they'll have future opportunities. But as for you, this film is a bit of a departure from the YouTube sphere which you've populated for so long. Do you have any interest in playing more roles other than just Zach?
I'll never say never. Performing is really fun. It is a blast to do. I am obviously most adept at unscripted performance. I find myself most interested in being behind the camera. That's always what's brought me, and even to the Try Guys, I found being on camera as a way to control the product. That's why I started being in videos, even dating back to my days at BuzzFeed. I was performing because it allowed me a faster way to control what my eventual edit would be. So the most fun for me is in directing. I would actually do the opposite of your question, which is hopefully direct something that I don't have to be on camera for. But if any movies want a little side character that I can come in and play for a day or two, hell yeah, sign me up.
And once this film finishes its festival run, is this something that people are going to find on the Second Try channel? Is this something you're going to release on YouTube? What are your release plans for this film when it reaches its conclusion?
Yeah, all the above. We're letting it do the festival run because that's just fun. It's gratifying to see things with an audience, and as I said, to see if it can have a life of its own. But we're not going to do a huge festival run. I am going to try and only be at festivals where I can personally be in attendance, because I'm doing this selfishly. I want to see the movie with people. So I expect that we'll get it up on second try, either end of this year or early next year. We also made, a making of video that is like a behind the scenes, bringing people along that journey, because it was really cool. And I haven't had a chance to name drop all the incredible collaborators I had on this, but seeing them cook, it's too fun. And absolutely, this will go out on YouTube. I want this to be seen by as many people as possible, because hopefully it can be cathartic for an audience out there.
Well, thanks for chatting with me today, Zach. I can't wait for people to see the film, and good luck on the rest of the festival run.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'm glad you watched, and or I thank you for watching, and I'm glad you enjoyed.